Hey there, amazing educators. I just wanted to take a moment to share with you something that makes my life just a little bit easier as a teacher. And we certainly all need that, especially on days when we need a sub, especially when we need a sub and it's not planned. So you wake up and you're sick or what have you, and you need to get that sub request in, and you don't want to delay that because you want to make sure that you have first dibs on any subs. Because if your district is anything like mine, you probably do not have um, enough subs to go around. So you want to get that sub request in right away, but you still want to make sure that your substitute has the information that they need for the day, and you might not have that already because you weren't planning on having a sub that day. So you go ahead and put in that sub request, and here's how I do that without having to make changes to my sub instructions ahead of time. So here's the key. You want to have your sub instructions on the same document all the time, and then you just make changes to that document. That's because you're going to have a tiny URL, and that tiny URL is going to take your substitute to this document. So your tiny URL stays the same, the document stays the same, you just make the changes as need be. So I wake up in the morning, I'm sick, whatever, and I go to my district subfinder, I grab this link, and I keep the link there so I can grab it quickly because I don't want to risk putting in, typing it in and typing it wrong and having a typo, and then they have nothing. So I just tell them to look at this doc. I've made a tiny URL because sometimes you can't put in a link, but you can put in a tiny URL, make it short, and I have a clever one that incorporates my name in a very funny way. And so then you just pop that tiny URL into the sub instructions, and then you come back to this document and make whatever changes you need to make. So, oftentimes you might have a lesson plan that's beautiful and wonderful, but it kind of needs you to be there. So you might need to make changes to it. Your sub is going to need to know how to get to the bathroom. I have a sub tub, and I want to let them know where that is. My sub tub typically will have some snacks in it, like wrapped protein bars, that sort of thing. They are going to need to see my seating charts, and so I give them a link to my seating charts. They're going to need the schedule. Um, they'll need the lessons, so I'll have the class name and then what periods I have that class, and then I'll put a link here to the lesson plan, which I might need to make some adjustments to. I'll have the link to the presentation for that day. Any special notes I'll put right here. And then down here, I will have a substitute report that is optional for them to fill out. But if they want to tell me how the day went, or tell me if they would like to sub for me again, I always want to know does that sub want to come and sub for me again? And that's a great relationship to make if you have a sub that is really jiving with your kids and follows your sub instructions. So um, another thing that is helpful is to create this little table of contents. Although it's only a 2-page document, it gives them links to get to all the information that they need very quickly, so that they know, down here is where they're going to find the lesson plans and what information they can find on the document. So anyhow, I have made this into a something that you can copy and edit and make whatever changes, but remember, the key here is that you get this tiny URL. I highly recommend using the tiny URL, making an account so that it saves all your tiny URLs, and that's pretty darn useful. And then that it links back to this document, and that document stays the same all the time. So that's the key. And if you do that, it's going to save you a lot of stress on those mornings where you suddenly discover that you need a sub. I hope that this is useful. I hope this makes your life easier, and I hope you have a fantastic school year. Happy teaching!